Buenos días o buenas tardes, Year 7. I hope that you're all well. Bienvenido a nuestra tercera clase de la semana. So welcome to our third and final Spanish class of the week. So we're continuing with our topic, Mi Familia, and our lesson aims for the week to understand vocabulary about family members and our numbers up to 100. Both of those two things we've now covered. We're going to really consolidate that learning in today's lesson by applying that vocabulary that we've learned by writing a paragraph, and we'll evaluate and set targets on how to improve further. So your starter task, I would like you to write down in words the winning bingo numbers. So you can see there are 10 numbers to write down. If you could do that in Spanish. There's also an extension to write the answers in Spanish to the 3 sums that you can see. Okay, so pause this video whilst you do that, and you'll probably need about 3 or 4 minutes. Excelente, muy bien. Let's see how you got on. So the numbers that you should have written down are 2, 48, 25, 21, 31, 18, 6, 36, 22, and 7. And your extension, there's always time for maths in our lives. So the answer to those sums, 11 times 8 is 88, 88. 35 plus 26 is 61, 61. And 0.25 of 400 is 10. So hopefully you got on okay with that and you revised what we had done last class. Continuamos. So for today's class, on our agenda of things to do, we're just going to have a quick recap of the verb tener and llamarse, because we'll be using that quite extensively in the rest of the class. And we'll consolidate our learning this week by doing a reading comprehension and doing some writing practice. And then finally, we'll end with a play. Okay, continuamos entonces. So on to our grammar reminder. So the verb tener, to have. Remember, this is one of the irregular verbs that we just have to learn. So we have tengo, I have, tienes, you have, tiene, he or she has, tenemos, we have, tenéis, you plural have, and tienen, they have. So you've already got an accurate note of that in your book, so you don't need to write that down. It was just to remind you of the conjugation of tener. The ones you'll be using throughout this lesson, really in the main, are tengo, I have, tienes, he or she has, or tienen, they have. Now remember, when we're talking about age in Spanish, we use the verb tener. So they in Spanish say, I have so many years. So for example, if it was, I'm 20 years old, they would say, I have 20 years. Tengo 20 años. Okay, so that's just a reminder for you. Second grammar reminder, the verb llamarse. Remember that double L is pronounced as a Y. Llamarse, to be called. So we have me llamo, I am called. Te llamas, you are called. Se llama, he or she is called. Nos llamamos, we are called. Os llamáis, you plural are called. And se llaman, they are called. So again, in this lesson, mainly you'll be using me llamo, I'm called. Se llama, you may be talking about a brother or sister, saying they are called, he or she is called. Se llama, or they are called if it's more than one person. Se llaman. Again, you don't need to write that down. That's just a reminder of the grammar. So moving on, let's consolidate our learning from this week. So we'll start with a reading comprehension, and you can see there that picture is Machu Picchu. For those of you who I teach, you'll know that Senora Fowler used to live in Peru, so it's somewhere very, very dear to me. And I'm very fortunate. I've actually been to Machu Picchu and saw lots of llamas up there. Amazingly enough, they survive at that high altitude. It's quite incredible. So we have our reading comprehension here. Mi pueblo es mi familia, which means my town is my family. Now in Peru, generally speaking, families don't separate and live in other places. They all stay in the same place. So you often find families all in one town, and they generally speaking have quite large families. So that's just a bit of extra cultural information. So on with our activity. I would like you to read the text in Spanish. You can do it quietly, or even better, if you're at home, you could do it out loud. and answer the question. There are 6 questions: verdadero, true, or falso, false. Remember, our V's are B, so it's verdadero, not verdadero. Okay, so your 6 questions, they're in English, and you'll need to read in the text and then answer with verdadero or falso. There's an extension if you really want to challenge yourself and you have time in this lesson. Please also translate the text to English. Okay, so I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to do that. So pause this video for that time. Excelente. It's quite a long text, but I'm sure you were able to do it. So let's look at the answers. Alaya has 2 sisters and 3 brothers. That is falso. She says, and you can see here, tengo 2 hermanas, and here, tengo 2 hermanos. She's got 2 brothers and 2 sisters. Question number 2, her sister Sulata is 14 years old. And we can see that is true. We've got here, Sulata tiene 14 años. Her brother Utaya is 15 years old. And that is falso, because here it says, Utaya tiene 10 años. He is 10 years old. Question number 4, she lives with her aunts. That's falso. She says this verb here, vivo, not vivo, vivo, con mi padre, mi madre, mi abuelo, y mi abuela. She lives with her dad, her mum, and her grandparents, her grandfather and grandmother. Her grandfather is 82 years old. That's verdadero. She says, mi abuelo se llama Maliku. Her grandfather's called Maliku, and he tiene 82 años. He's 82 years old. She doesn't have any cousins. That's falso. We know that because she actually says, tengo 4 tíos y 4 tías en el pueblo y muchos primos. So she's got 4 cousins, 4 uncles, 4 aunts in the town or the village, and lots of cousins. It doesn't say male or female, so we can only assume it's a mix because it's primos, the plural. Give yourself a mark out of 6. Hopefully you got at least half of those right. Moving on. Oh, for those of you who did the extension, well done for doing that. This is the translation of it from Spanish to English. So pause this video and you can correct your own work. Please do that in a different color pen, ideally a red pen. Muy bien, excelente. Continuamos. So one of our final tasks today is the writing practice. So vamos a escribir, let's write. I would like you to use the example from the reading comprehension, and you can flick back to that now so you've got a record of that, to write a paragraph describing your own family. And you must write at least 35 words. Now, many of you will be very, very able at this, and you could probably write at least 50. So please challenge yourself and write as many words as you can. So ideally, you need to include 5 things. Say how many people are in your family. Say who they are, give their names and their ages. Say whether you have grandparents, give their names and ages. Say whether you have aunts, uncles, cousins, and give their names and ages. And finally, add any extra information you want to, such as where you live or what school subjects you like. That's recalling our knowledge from last term. So as a minimum, I'd expect you to do numbers 1 to 4. If you want to challenge and push yourself, do number 5 as well. Also, as regards challenge, please use a variety of connectives. And remember, our connectives are our beautiful linking words, such as también, which means also, y, which means and, sin embargo, which means however, or afortunadamente, which means fortunately. Try and use these in your writing as much as you can. So this will probably take you between 8 to 10 minutes. So pause this video now and you can complete that task. Excelente, muy bien. And finally, we've got to the final part of the lesson. There are three elements to this that I'd like you to do. The first is to write down what you have learnt today. The second is to set yourself a target for improvement. Now, let me give you some suggestions. One of those might be perhaps you've not used tener appropriately in the right way. Perhaps you've said tiene when you should have said tienen, or the other way around. So perhaps your target could be to really learn the verb tener. Or it might be you haven't learnt the word for aunts and uncles. So that could be a target for you to learn those 2 words. And finally, please take a photo of the work that you've done in class today, upload it to the Google Classroom assignment for your teacher to review. And I'll give you a couple of minutes to do that now. Excelente, muy bien. So you've worked really, really hard this week. Well done. Bien hecho. Y hasta la semana que viene. I'll see you next week. Adiós.